Many thanks for joining us. I am Rita Omodia. On our first story here, the Council of State has identified the mapping of cattle routes, grazing reserves and ranching as solutions to the clashes between farmers and herdsmen. To this end, Council resolved that states which have enough land should be encouraged to embrace cattle routes and grazing reserves, while states with limited land space can adopt ranching to restrict the movement of cattle, which is the major cause of the crisis. Briefing journalists after a meeting of the council on Thursday at the presidential villa in Abuja, Governor of Jigawa State conveyed the concern of the advisory body on the security situation in the country. Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe, said there is no alternative to cattle ranching, which he said is the solution to farmers' herdsmen crisis.
I will receive a very long brief from the National Security Advisor, ranging from farmers' herdsmen clashes, Boko Haram, militancy in the Niger Delta, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and deliberated very well after assessing the performance so far by the security agencies, which is commendable, and a lot of suggestion comes up on way forward.
Council of State also discussed the recent attack on a government girls' school in Yobe, urging the various security agencies to bring the situation under control. Governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosun, said Council is pleased with the steps taken by the Buhari administration to reflect the Nigerian economy, but however observed that some interventions are needed in the nation's agricultural sector. Meanwhile, Governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, announced some appointments approved by Council of State on Thursday.
Council deliberated extensively on our economy, on the nation's economy, how to diversify our economy, the efforts that were being made to pull Nigeria out of doldrums. Council appreciated the efforts that have been put in place to move Nigeria away from recession. Now gradually we are getting it right, and Council agreed, we discussed, and the Council agreed that what is being done is good and that we should continue with that diversification trend.
The Council was consulted today, and the Council deliberated and acquiesced to the President's appointment of the following vacant positions. One, the two non-legal practitioners to the Federal Judicial Service Commission, a National Electoral Commissioner for INEC, and also the 23 members of the National Population Commission.
This is the third council meeting to hold since the inception of the Buhari administration. In attendance were three former heads of state, Yakubu Gowon, Olusegun Obasanjo, and Abdulsalami Abubakar. Now, the Nigerian Senate has made a case for safer schools. This is coming against the background of an attack by suspected Boko Haram insurgents on the school during which 94 schoolgirls were abducted in Yobe State. The said attack by the terrorist group on the Government Girls Technical College Dapchi Busari local government area in Yobe State comes nearly 4 years after that of Chibok, where about 300 schoolgirls were kidnapped. Reacting to the event, the Senate says there is a need for Nigerian schools, particularly those for girls, to be made safer. This follows a motion by Senator Buka Abba Ibrahim during Thursday's session on the floor of the Senate.
Of the 926 female students who ran into the bush, 46 are still missing.
Order,
but of course, this is a big improvement from the earlier stage when the children, all the school children went into the bush. There was zero number in the school. But on a few hours later, when there was a head count, 810 of them had come back. And as of yesterday evening, 46 girls are still missing.
I want to, at this point, commend Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for immediately taking action by directing the armed forces to move into Yobe to ensure that Boko Haram did not run away with any single girl from Dapchi.
Mr. President, this is quite disheartening to hear, with due respect to Senator Ahmed Lawan, to commend the state government for serially failing to protect our students. This is the primary responsibility of government, to protect the lives and property of its citizens. The state government of Yobe has serially failed in this regard. It has abdicated its primary responsibility in doing that.
You know what happened during the Chibok girls' abduction, and we ought to take proactive measures in order to ensure that schools, especially girls' schools, are well protected.
In ruling on the motion, Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, who presided, said the police force is so overstretched to afford to have its personnel stationed at schools.
To their limits at this period of national insecurity. That's what makes a stronger case for another level of policing, because if you are not asking the military and the police to provide security at all the schools, primary and secondary, they cannot have the number to do so. So there must be another level of policing that will be able to complement the federal government security infrastructure in order to be able to secure all parts of Nigeria and all the schools.
The Senate also resolved that the security agencies must ensure prompt rescue of the Yobe schoolgirls to prevent a repeat of the Chibok episode all over again. Now, the last is yet to be heard following the removal of Senator Abdullahi Adamu as chairman of the Northern Senators Forum as a member of the Northern Caucus of the Nigerian Senators, says there is element of foul play in arriving at the controversial decision. Standing on Order 43 during Thursday's Senate session, Senator Ali Wakili from Bauchi State says the decision to effect a shake-up in the leadership structure of the Northern Senators Forum is not a unanimous one.
I'm not privy, and the fact that collectively the Northern Senators Forum was dragged, my privilege has been breached because nobody has called me for a meeting. Senator Barau Jibrin, the secretary of the forum, had never called a meeting. Senator Dino Malai, the public relations officer of the forum, has never called for a meeting. And even when the announcement was made, when there was press statement, it is the spokesman of the Senate that led some senators to go to the press center to make some of these bombastic statements.
Reacting on allegation that he led senators to the press center where the controversial 70 million naira statement was made, the Senate spokesman, Abdullahi Sabi, cleared himself of any wrongdoing.
Senator Shehu Sani and Senator Misau followed me, as I normally do. Many of you here will testify that sometimes I'll call you, please can you join me as I do the press briefing. They joined me, and in the process, they asked him some questions and he responded, having to do with Northern Senators Forum. But yesterday, I made it very clear that I'm not holding brief for Northern Senators Forum, even though I'm a member. But I'm here to speak for the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Galaxy's Godfrey Oshamage reports that the current heat in the Senate may not be unconnected with the split occasioned by the controversial amendment of the Electoral Act, which has resulted in the rearrangement of the sequence for the 2019 general elections. In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission has set up an 8-member committee to investigate the alleged incidents of underage voting in the recently conducted local government election in Kano State. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu disclosed this at the meeting with the leadership of the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commission in Abuja. Professor Yakubu, who was quick to add that the committee is not investigating the outcome of the election, said their terms of reference is to ascertain if the voter register requested by the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission was actually used in the conduct of the election.
The joint INEC and State Independent Electoral Commission's Interactive Committee will immediately be reconstituted and shall henceforth meet regularly. Similarly, INEC and the State Independent Electoral Commissions shall be meeting on a quarterly basis going forward, and as the need also arises in between the quarters.
Earlier in his remarks, the chairman of the Forum of State Independent Electoral Commission of Nigeria said the visit was informed by the need to solicit the cooperation of INEC in helping the State Commission become more efficient in the discharge of its responsibilities.
Towards the governorship election in Ekiti and other states and the 2019 general election as they unfold, I wish to say that we are in support of INEC's position as co-election management bodies, and of particular interest is the development of the electronic voting system that is currently ongoing. The forum wants to use this medium to request that we be carried along by the Commission in the development of the system by way of capacity building and experience sharing on the system.
Still ahead, INEC vows to ensure credible elections in 2019. Details of this and other stories when